Today, we're jumping into a story that has been a spiritual guide for literally thousands of years, the life of Krishna. And we're going to see how this wasn't just the story of a god, but of an avatar who lived a complete human life, turning every single action into a timeless lesson for all of us. So that's a big question to start with, right? How can the journey of one person, even a divine one, really be a blueprint for our own totally unique lives? Well, let's dig into that, because Krishna's entire story is built on that very idea. You see, the thing about Krishna's story is that he didn't just pop down to Earth to perform a few miracles and leave. He lived through the whole human experience. He was a child, a friend, a king, a guide, and by living each role so completely, he basically left us a practical roadmap for our own messy, complicated lives. So let's start at the very beginning. Every great story needs a dramatic beginning, and man, does this one have it. It all kicks off in a world that is just drowning in despair. The circumstances around Krishna's arrival were about as dark as you can possibly imagine. So check out this contrast. It's incredibly powerful. On one hand, you've got a world just overrun by cruelty, all symbolized by a dark prison cell. But the divine solution wasn't some huge army. It was a single, quiet birth. Krishna is born to his parents, Devaki and Vasudev, right there in that prison. But to keep him safe, he's smuggled out and taken to the village of Gokul to be raised by his foster parents. And right from the get-go, the message is crystal clear. Hope doesn't always show up with a crash of thunder. Sometimes it's born silently, in the absolute darkest of places. From this incredible birth, we move into a childhood that's, well, anything but ordinary. This is where we get to see Krishna not as some distant, serious god, but as this joyful, mischievous, and deceptively powerful kid. His childhood in Gokul is the stuff of legends. I mean, he was famous for stealing butter, playing pranks, and just filling the entire village with this infectious joy. But woven into all this fun was this unbelievable divine power. He'd effortlessly defeat these massive demons, not with rage or some epic battle, but with the simple, overwhelming power of his own purity. The lesson here is so profound. Joy isn't just for fun, it's a divine strength. And evil, well, it just can't stand up to true innocence. And this next story brilliantly illustrates his role as a protector. So, the deity Indra gets furious with the villagers and sends this insane torrential storm to just wipe Gokul off the map. And what does Krishna do? Something absolutely mind-blowing. He just lifts the entire Govardhan mountain on his little finger and holds it up like a giant umbrella, protecting every person and animal in the village. But here's the thing. The crucial point isn't just the miracle itself. It's the lesson behind it. The villagers were safe because they put their complete faith in Krishna, not because they were cowering in fear of Indra's power. It's a timeless message, really. True security comes from trust and faith, not from trying to appease those who threaten you. But, a life of joyful play in a perfect village couldn't last forever. The world's problems were still out there, and Krishna's real purpose was much, much bigger. This next chapter, this is where things get serious. It's all about sacrifice and the heavy weight of responsibility. To fulfill his destiny, Krishna had to finally confront the tyrant Kamsa, the very reason he had to be born in secret. And this meant making a heart-wrenching choice, leaving behind the people he loved, the joy of his childhood, and the only home he'd ever known. It's his first great lesson in the clash between what you love and what you must do. And that higher purpose? It's all wrapped up in this incredibly powerful concept, dharma. Now, as you can see, dharma isn't just duty, like it's some chore you have to do. Think of it more as your righteous path, the moral law that holds the entire universe together. Krishna's choice teaches us a really tough truth. Sometimes, for the greater good, our personal happiness has to take a back seat to our dharma. So after defeating Kamsa, Krishna eventually builds and rules this magnificent city called Dwarka. He's a king, a brilliant strategist, a protector of his people. But, and this is so important, through all that power and prestige, the stories always emphasize that he stayed humble. He remained accessible and simple at heart. The lesson is pretty clear. Your real greatness isn't about the power you have. It's about the humility you keep. All right, so now we get to what is probably Krishna's most famous role of all. And it's not as a king, not as a warrior, but as a divine guide. A guide on the biggest stage you can possibly imagine, the battlefield of the Mahabharata. So when this epic war between two sides of a family was about to kick off, Krishna made a fascinating choice. He flat out refused to pick up a weapon. Instead, he offered himself as a humble charioteer to his dear friend, the great archer Arjuna. Just think about what a statement that is. The greatest power isn't always in fighting the battle, but in having the wisdom to navigate it. And it's right there, on that chariot, as Arjuna is completely breaking down at the thought of fighting his own family, that Krishna delivers the Bhagavad Gita. Its wisdom is immense, but you can really boil it down to the three profound principles you see here. First, do your duty, your dharma, as best as you possibly can. Second, do it without your ego getting in the way, without making it all about you. And third, maybe the hardest one of all, act without being attached to the results. Focus on doing the right thing, not on whether you'll succeed or fail. You know, every story has an end, and the story of an avatar is no different. Krishna's departure from the world is just as packed with lessons as his life was, teaching us about time, consequences, and acceptance. In a really tragic turn of events, Krishna's own clan, the Yadavas, they become arrogant and are cursed to destroy each other in a civil war. Now, here's the thing. Despite his divine power, Krishna doesn't intervene. He calmly accepts this horrible outcome. It's a powerful demonstration of a universal law. Everyone, even a divine being, has to respect the laws of karma and consequence. And not long after that, Krishna's own time to leave the earthly world arrives. His departure is quiet, almost mundane, and that really delivers the final, ultimate lesson. The physical form, the body, it's temporary, it ends. But the truth, the wisdom, the teachings he left behind, those are forever. So, when you bring it all together, what's the final message? This slide just summarizes it beautifully. See, Krishna didn't just have one lesson for us. He had a lesson for every single role we play in our own lives. As a child, he taught us to live with pure joy. As a friend, to love without being afraid. As a king, to act with our true purpose, our dharma. And as a guide, he taught us maybe the hardest lesson of all, how to let go without the pain. And that really brings us to the end of our explainer. Krishna's life isn't just an ancient story to be told. It's a mirror. It offers a different reflection, a different lesson for every stage of our own lives. So the final question isn't really about what he did, but about what we do with what he taught us. So as you go on with your day, maybe just think about it. Which of his roles and which of his lessons speaks to you the most right now?